And one president by himself simply does not have the power to put our government back on the constitutional tracks. We, the people, must step in, and that constitutional mechanism is delineated in Article 5, a Convention of the States. Joining me now from Dallas, Texas, Director of the Convention of the States Project, Tamara Colbert. Tamara, 2016 wasn't exactly a banner year for the effort of the Convention of the States Project. 4 states joined: Tennessee, Indiana, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. There are now a total of 8 states. You need 26 more to convene a convention of the states. But at this rate, if it's 4 a year, we're going to be waiting until 2025. Do you think 2017 is going to be a better year?
Well, actually, I think 2016 was an amazing year for the Convention of States. We actually doubled our states, and we went from 1 million supporters and volunteers to 2.1 million supporters and volunteers. I can speak specifically to Texas, where we have almost 105,000 volunteers and supporters. This is a tremendous effort. And you know, Graham, we are having to retrain the general public and retrain legislators to what Article 5 is. So I think we're doing pretty doggone good after 50 years of being attacked at every level for our Constitution.
It is a two-step or a two-stage process, if you will. One is trying to achieve the Convention of the States, but also you have to educate along the way. You have to educate the American people. You have to educate the legislators who are constitutionally ignorant. Do you believe that Texas is going to go with the Convention of the States, some sort of legislation this year?
Well, Texas has a motto here, our Convention of States team, and we say Texas will lead. And so we believe, actually it was a year ago yesterday that Governor Abbott first endorsed the Convention of States, our resolution, and that we were absolutely right on track with how we're going to restore the Constitution and the rule of law. So here we come upon the start of our Texas legislative session. It opens tomorrow. Convention of States is going to be presenting at the annual Texas Public Policy Orientation on Thursday. Mark Meckler and I will be down there, as well as our sponsors for our resolution. We think we're going to make a big, bold difference, and we're going to start with Texas. We've already got 12 states that have pre-filed across the country, and it's January 9th. We're excited.
What does that mean to be pre-filed? That means that the foundation is laid to pass some sort of resolution and then some sort of legislation?
Yes, absolutely. What it means to be pre-filed is that means the legislation has been filed before the session officially opens. And every state has their specific details on when those dates are, but 12 have already pre-filed. And this is really exciting. There's just so many legislators that really are seeing it doesn't matter who's president, right? It's going to be, how bad do the states want liberty? How bad do the people really want
liberty?
So
Texas is on the precipice. I would imagine some other states are going to be close, maybe this spring, pass a resolution. Which are the toughest states right now? Is it California, Washington State, Oregon, the obvious ones that seem to be a tough nut to crack?
Well, I think obviously California. I mean, California is going off the cliff on a variety of levels. However, we have over 35,000 Californians that are part of this effort. Same in New York. New York is really tough. It's amazing when people have become so used to a kind of a top-down centralized government, even in their state. We have to retrain and re-educate, most importantly, state legislators, but citizens of all stripes. And the Constitution in this nation is theirs to protect and defend. And through Article 5, we get to do that.
And Convention of the States Project is very methodical, and you're trying to pass uniform legislation. It's not going to be perfectly uniform, but it's going to be very, very close. Each state passes a similar piece of legislation. Yet when you read Article 5 of the Constitution, it doesn't delineate that there must be a uniform piece of legislation. Why has Convention of the States Project chosen to approach it that way?
Well, because there's many options. There's been over 400 Article 5 resolutions that have been filed in our history here in America. And so we believe that filing the identical resolution in all these states really is going to eliminate any of the court objections or congressional objections, because let's be quite frank, Do you think Congress wants to limit their power? No way.
Well, that's the problem, right? I mean, there are friends of Article 5, kind of a competing notion of trying to trigger an Article 5 convention of the states that says there already is critical mass in Congress right now. And so here's the problem, hypothetically, and I hate to talk hypotheticals, but if you deliver the requisite number of states, 34 states to Congress, say, here it is, trigger the Article 5 clause, and Congress does nothing. I mean, I hate to bring that up, but if
because precedent really shows us that Congress, if they decide not to do that, because we expect them to be stinkers, right?
Yes, yes.
We as the states can actually convene and decide a time and a place. Congress must call a convention within a reasonable amount of time. And we've got a lot of great constitutional attorneys that have kind of figured out what our recourse could be at that point.
Because the Constitution does read that Congress shall, not may, not maybe, not whenever it wants, but the Congress shall call for the convention of the states. Of course, one of two ways to amend the Constitution. So overall, do you believe that Donald Trump is on board, even though officially he hasn't come forward, as far as I know, and said, hey, I support a convention of the states? He has come out and he said he's in favor of term limits. Mitch McConnell says, oh, we already have term limits. It's called elections. Well, those are two competing trains of thought.
Well, absolutely. And you know what? Donald Trump has his own fight inside the Beltway now. What I love about the Convention of States project, we're outside the Beltway and we are tackling the tough issues, and we're doing it through the grassroots, through a fire that's really spreading, because the people really understand. It doesn't matter who's the president. That president has not the power to fix the structural issues, really, to the Commerce Clause, the General Welfare Clause, and some of those things that we know is going to get pushed back on what Donald Trump is going to be looking to do.
Absolutely, no doubt. If an Article 5 can be triggered, it's going to necessarily change the culture in Washington, D.C., the mindset, because they're long overdue for some sort of constitutional shock therapy, a.k.a. Article 5. Tamara, thank you.
Just met like the kindest, most welcoming people who have made me feel empowered.